Model guns in Japan profiled by Lucifer 7922. This video introduces a Japanese toy gun. The toy guns I introduce are called model guns in Japan. It is called a cap gun by the world standard, but I call it a model gun. This model gun is manufactured and sold by Japanese toy gun maker Marushin Industry Co., Limited. The material is heavyweight resin. This time it is an assembly kit 20 years ago, but I made a successful bid for this model gun at an auction in October 2020. It's about $110 at the current rate. In addition, this model gun has been on sale until now with repeated minor changes. And it is announced that it will be newly released in December 2020 again. This video introduces the assembly process and test shooting, but I cannot translate the assembly process into English correctly. So just look at the image and imagine. Also, the notation of parts is simply a translation of the part name described in the instruction manual. I also made a parts list, but this is just a simple translation. If you have any problems, please write them in the comments. The instruction manual and parts list in English are posted on my blog, so please use them when maintaining used products. In addition, the instruction manual has many esoteric expressions and errors, which makes me confused even as a native. It is wise not to ask an inexperienced person to translate. First, copy the instruction manual, and make sure you have all the parts. Put the parts in a plastic bag. This is done to spray the parts with oil. Spray inside the bag to prevent the room from being contaminated by oil spray. Do it outdoors as much as possible. By the way, each part of this 20-year-old assembly kit is stored in a blister pack. However, the current product has changed to a plastic bag. The processing of parting lines such as slides and frames will be described. To be honest, my finish is rough. Therefore, I will not explain this process in the future. 1. Temporary assembly of slides and frames. This process is done to confirm the combination of slide and frame before full-scale assembly. Rails should not be specifically polished unless they are significantly bad. And not only in this process, cutting of the sliding surface should be minimized, because it is very difficult to return to the original volume. 2. Assembly of mainspring housing. This is the process of incorporating sear spring into mainspring housing. A problem occurred in a later process and I had to return to this process again, but for now I will proceed as it is. It is a hole for sear spring pin, but the hole diameter is expanded only on the entrance side with a drill bit. Insert sear spring pin and tap it lightly with a hammer to fix it. Make sure the sear spring pin does not stick out from the side of the mainspring housing. Insert sear spring into mainspring housing and you're done. 3. Assembly of hammer. It is a process of combining hammer and hammer strut and incorporating mainspring. There are burrs on the joint of hammer strut, so I polished it. First, combine hammer and hammer strut with hammer strut pin. Here, the hammer strut pin does not receive interference from the left and right, so it may fall off. The instruction manual explains the preventive measures, but it is difficult to understand. It says, crush the boundary between the hole and the pin. Of course, it's front and back. By doing so, the hammer strut pin will not come off. However, I thought about removing it later and responded with instant adhesive. 4. Assembly of safety. Unlike the drawing, there are no grooves. There is no problem if you assemble according to the drawing. 5. Incorporate hammer and mainspring housing into frame. This is the process of combining the mainspring housing assembled in step 2 and the hammer assembled in step 3 and incorporating it into the frame. Fix it with housing pin. 6. Attach the safety and ejector to the frame. This process is the work of combining safety, ejector, and hammer. However, ejector will also be combined with sear in a later process, so it will not be fixed at this stage. There are 2 key points in the work. The first is to pull up hammer, and the other is to put B in the position of A. Once you understand how it works, it should seem like an easy task. 7. Assembling the lanyard ring and attaching it to the frame. Lanyard ring exists in the exploded view, but it is not listed in the parts list. Think of the ring and screw as one part. The ring is thought to have cut the coil spring with a bolt cutter. A very terrible burr remains. It's a rough finish, but it's okay. 8. Incorporate sear into the frame. There were some confusing expressions in the instruction manual of the assembly kit that I worked on in the past, but this time it is the worst. First, add the missing information. Then, in order to help understanding, some figures are inverted and unnecessary figures are erased. It's not perfect, but I think it's easier to understand than the original drawing. By the way, this process is the work of attaching sear to the frame in order to connect it with hammer. The man-hours are small, but it is a very difficult task. It is very difficult to hold sear with your fingertips in a small space. I needed the help of ET. I managed to do it, but the movement is not smooth. The tip of sear spring cuts into the contact part with sear. The designer may have imagined the result shown in the figure. But in reality, the total length of sear spring is too short and only the tip is in contact. The instruction manual is also the worst, but the parts design is also the worst. I did 2 things. The first was to polish the tip of sear spring smoothly, and the second one weakened the tension of sear spring. This has 2 effects. First of all, improve the response of the trigger and prevent sear spring from deviating from sear. I'm not sure if my method is correct, but in fact it works smoothly. 9. Assemble the trigger group. All you have to do is combine the parts for the next process, but again the figure rotates, making it difficult to understand. By the way, frame spacer is mistakenly written as claim spacer in the commentary. I don't think it's a Japanese job. 10. Incorporate trigger group into frame. In this process, the trigger group temporarily assembled in step 9 is inserted into the frame, and the trigger temporary fixing pin and trigger pin are exchanged. If you lightly press the red circle from above, you can replace the pin smoothly. 11. Assemble the magazine catch. In this process, all you have to do is combine the parts of the magazine catch. 12. Incorporate the magazine catch into the frame. Incorporate the magazine catch combined in the previous process into the frame. The inner wall of the magazine catch mounting hole of the frame is grooved. Insert magazine catch into the mounting hole. If you rotate the magazine catch spring guide clockwise, a protrusion will appear. This protrusion goes into the groove and magazine catch does not fall out of the frame. 13. Attach the grip to the frame. 14. Assemble the magazine. 15. Incorporate the extractor into the slide. It's not a difficult process, but the part number is wrong. This is the point to note. Don't jump out. 16. Incorporate sear lever and firing pin retainer into slides. There is no problem other than the instruction manual. 17. Incorporate the chamber pin into the barrel. Change the chamber pin screw to stainless steel from the beginning. 18. Incorporate the barrel into the slide. No explanation needed. 19. Assemble the recoil spring guide and incorporate it into the slide. Just combine the parts. There are no special precautions. 20. Combine slides and frames. This process also needs no explanation. 21. Incorporate slide stop, Part 1. To understand the internal structure, let's take a look at the relationship between the slide stop and the recoil spring guide. Let's combine barrel here. You understand the internal structure. Now let's put the slide and frame in this position. You can see the tip of the recoil spring guide. Then, please insert the slide stop halfway. It looks the same as the instruction manual. 22. Incorporate slide stop, Part 2. 1. Lower the slide backwards. 2. Push up safety. 3. Press slide stop hard to insert it completely. 23. Incorporate slide stop, Part 3. 1. Push down safety. 2. The slide moves forward. 24. Final process. Attach the magazine, pull the trigger and drop the hammer, and you're done. It was supposed to be completed, but I fell into an unexpected situation. The cartridge cannot be loaded into the chamber. Please see the image. Normally, the top edge of the cartridge should be above sear. However, the top edge of the cartridge is in the same position as the top edge of the sear. In other words, reach cannot push out the cartridge. I considered 3 factors. The first is the excitement of the magazine base. The second is the gap between the frame and the magazine. The third is the irregular movement of the cartridge in the magazine. First, scrape the magazine base horizontally. As a matter of course, the magazine catch is built up so that the magazine can be fixed upward. I pasted a plastic plate on the inside front of the grip of the frame. And I'm also working on magazine followers. The shaded area in the figure has been removed. Imagine only the last cartridge. The red line shows after processing. I thought that if the cartridge was in this position, it would move upwards smoothly. I feel that the magazine design is fundamentally wrong. At least I don't think I needed this much space. I feel that the sound is quiet and the recoil is weak. Perhaps the combustion gas is leaking. I will try again. It is clear that gas is leaking from the part indicated by the red circle. If you continue as it is, the result will be the same or worse. I tried two things. First, I got a new type cartridge. And the second is, the attached cartridge has been improved. This is not the latest model, but it has gas leak protection. The included cartridge uses 2 O-rings to prevent gas leaks from the screws. The O-ring has a wire diameter of 1 mm and an inner diameter of 5.5 mm. The primer gets inside by the thickness of the O-ring, but it's probably okay. I will try from the new type. Next, try the O-ring addition type. Ironically, the O-ring addition type gave better results. But it is difficult to continue. There was a crack on the right side of the slide. After the Japanese version was released, I was informed that this was a defect peculiar to the early model. I also found an image to support it on the net. In addition, we received information that the initial model lacks the thickness of breech. The information provider is dealing with this by sticking an ABS resin plate on the underside of breech. It is possible that the cartridge could not be loaded into the chamber due to a problem not only in the magazine but also in breech. I don't think I'm happy with the results and I don't have enough information, but I've told you everything I can do. Thank you for watching until the end. See you soon. Goodbye.